So much of this course is going to involve saving and sharing presets from Strobe 2. So I'd like to take a moment to look at the browser in particular, show how to open up that init patch or initialize patch that we're going to be using for every one of our presets, and then give a little bit of an overview of the Strobe 2 interface. So when you get Strobe 2, the browser is extensive. There's a ton of sounds in it, and honestly, it can be a little bit intimidating the first time trying to find just what you want. There's a bunch of ways that you can kind of, limit what you're searching for. And the first one is to go to type, and you'll see there's a variety of categories. And actually, throughout the course, I've used these categories to organize the presets we make. And we make a lot of these throughout the duration of the course. So if I want to look just for chords or want to look just for basses, I can just choose basses here, and I'm only going to see bass patches. Now you'll notice that all the bass patches begin with the letters BA, and that's their kind of code for bass, and each one of these categories has a short code like that, like organ is OR. You'll also notice that most of the browser, the factory library patches, end with a little code as well, like one like AFH. And what that is, that's the patch creator, the sound designer, kind of tagging it with their name. And that's where we can go to the artist section and we can kind of pick among the sound designers that developed the factory library. So if I go to Angus Hewlett, we'll actually see all the AFH patches there, and those are all the patches that he created. I would encourage, as you go through the class, to take on that habit of using those same kind of two-letter codes as you make your own patches. Just naming your patches and saving them, wow, that's really important because that's how you're going to establish kind of your own personal electronic music voice. Now, one of your first assignments is going to be to search this entire library and find things that you like. We're trying to really establish that personal voice. And then one of the best ways to do that is to use the favorites option. So if you find a patch you like, you can click on the star next to it and it'll become in your favorites folder, which is shown right there. So now we see I have one thing in my favorites folder. And you're going to be filling that up this week, taking a screenshot of it and posting it in the class to show that you really did go through and explore the library. The next thing I'd like to look at is how we're going to import a preset. And the SynthMook init preset has been distributed in the course. And I'd like you to try to load it into Strobe now. You're going to go to the import button, import preset, and find it in your computer and load it up. It's going to ask you if you want to install this preset into the browser for future use, and yes, you absolutely do, because you'll need it at the beginning of every one of the patch creation videos that we have in the course. Now that's going to go right into your browser, and it honestly can be kind of hard to find the stuff that you made kind of mixed in with the entire library. And again, we want to have a small collection of patches that really represents you. So that's where this library button is a key, because you can click on it and switch over to user, and it'll only show the patches that you've made or you've imported. And so we'll be filling that up as the course goes on, and you make a ton of presets that you're really proud of, or you get from sharing with the classmates here in the class. So now let's look at what you might see throughout Strobe 2 here. We have three main rows in the main interface here. The first one is our sound path, and the sound in Strobe and all synthesizers starts with an oscillator. Your oscillator is your sound generation device, and we have three of them here. We have our main oscillator, our sub-oscillator, and our noise generator, and they're all generating sound in parallel. That sound then gets combined to go into our VCF, which is our voltage controlled filter. That's our sound shaper. Then we have a VCA, which is our voltage controlled amplifier, and that controls the dynamics over the course of the sound. Under that, we have our modulation. So we have our dual LFO, that's two LFOs that are related to each other, and we'll explore those in depth in the course. We have our ramp modulator. We have our mod envelope, which is our filter envelope, but also can be routed to control pitch and pretty much everything else in Strobe 2. And we have our amp envelope, which is hardwired to control the amplitude of the entire synthesizer. In the lower left-hand corner of this, we have our voices section, and that's basically the first place we're going to go. And we have a keyboard here that shows you what notes you're playing when you're working with the synthesizer. There are three main tabs to the interface. We're in the middle tab now, the synth tab. There's also an effects tab where we have 6 slots that we can add audio effects, things like reverbs and EQs and additional filters and choruses. And we have an arpeggiator section, which also is our step sequencer. And again, we'll be looking at these throughout the course. On the top of the interface, we have all these what we call transmod slots. And these are how we set up advanced modulation, and we'll be getting into that in week 2 of the class. So that's a pretty good kind of overview of the Strobe 2 interface. I'd like to mention that there are a lot of terms I brought up here, things like filters and oscillators, LFOs, envelopes. And those are so general purpose, right? Those are the building blocks of every synthesizer. Behind me we have these modulars, and it's the same exact modules, all these really kind of atoms that make up the molecules that is a synth patch. If any of these terms are new to you, I would advise you go into our glossary and you look through the definitions of them, and you kind of have it available to yourself as you go through the course, because you want something that you can refer to regularly.